Hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Lily. If you're new here, I'm the person behind Crafts and Crumbs. Thanks so much for joining, and if you're not new, thanks so much for coming back. So in today's video, I thought it'd be really fun to just have a chill, knit, and chat. We haven't really gotten to know each other, so I'd love to share a little bit about me and kind of what I'm knitting in my life and what's going on. So grab whatever you're working on, grab a tea and coffee as well, and let's just start working together. So I can't really start without talking about what I'm knitting. So there has been a little bit of a change of plans. I was originally planning to knit the Psalm cardigan by Cookie the Knitter, which I love the idea of. I even bought the yarn. I bought Drops Brushed Alpaca Silk because I am obsessed with Drops Brushed Alpaca Silk. And I started knitting it, 2 strands held together. And as I was knitting the back panel, I realized that it was way too thick. Like the 2 yarns together made up a fabric that was much too thick for the project. And I stopped in the middle and looked at the project notes, and I realized that it was way too thick. So I stopped that, and I'll be saving that yarn maybe for another sweater or something. I do want to make the Psalm cardigan, but I think I'll just end up making it at a different time when I order the correct yarn. So I learned to look more closely at the yardage versus what I have to make sure that they match, and not just that it's a mohair, because there are different weights of mohairs, which I don't think I really fully comprehended beforehand. So I learned something, and I guess that's what's important. So instead of making the Psalm cardigan now, I am working on my Friday slipover by Petite Knit, which I'm very excited about. I have a video coming out next week that's gonna be a lot about it, so I'll talk about it a little bit more there. But I'm knitting it in Drops Flora and Drops Brushed Alpaca Silk in these 2 matching brown colors that are really, really cute. I'm only on the back panel. I started only like 2 days ago, so I'm definitely a little more at the beginning. It's coming along really nicely, and I really like it. I really like my last Friday slipover that I made. It's just, it came out like a little bit big, and I made it in a different color, so I wanted to make it again in this color, and I'm adjusting the sizes accordingly. So we'll talk about that a little bit more in my next video, but that's just in general. Also, before we go any further, I am wearing my sweater number 6 that I made by My Favorite Things Knitwear. This is made in 2 strands of Drops Brushed Alpaca Silk in the color pink. I don't remember the number of the color. I can put it in the description down below. So that's just a little bit in general. This pattern is a broken rib pattern. So it's 1 row of knitting and 1 row of ribbing. So on the knitting rows, I'll be looking at the camera a little bit more, and on the ribbing rows, I'll be looking down a little bit more, but that's okay. You guys get it. So I thought that I could share just a little bit about me in general, since we don't really know each other. So hi, my name is Lily. I'm 25 years old. I was born in Chicago. I'm currently in my 2nd year in OT school, and I'm really enjoying it. A lot of people ask me where I got the idea to go to occupational therapy school. I actually got into it from my sister. So I always knew that I wanted to do something that had to do with therapy. I just wasn't really sure what. And then my sister actually worked with kids with autism. And in her work, there was a speech therapist and a psychologist and an occupational therapist. And she came home one day, she's a few years older than me, so I was maybe 17 at the time. And she came home and she was just like, this is it. This is what you're gonna study. And I was like, what are you talking about? I don't know anything about occupational therapy. She's like, go look it up. I'm telling you, this is what you wanna do. This is it. And my sister is very smart. And of course she was right. And it really was it. So since the age of 17, I knew that I wanted to study occupational therapy. And I'm a knitter, so I don't think it's that surprising, because occupational therapy is a lot of fine motor skills, which is a lot that has to do with knitting, and just in general, a lot of things that have to do with knitting also correlate pretty well to the world of occupational therapy. So that's also been interesting while I've been studying. I also used to be a dancer, so I think I mentioned in another video, but I studied dance for pretty much my whole life. I danced my entire life in different studios and different competitions and things like that. And I was pretty serious about it until I was about 17 or 18. But at the end of the day, I don't think I really wanted to be like a professional dancer. I just really, really enjoyed dancing, which is great, and it doesn't always have to be in a professional setting. So I ended up putting that kind of dream aside, and then COVID hit and studios were closed and life just kind of happened, and then I started studying, so I didn't really have much time to dance, but I do still enjoy it, and it definitely has a warm place in my heart. about my knitting, people in my life ask me a lot where I learned how to knit. So I actually started knitting really randomly. I was always that kid who loved to be in every after-school activity. I loved to do ceramics. I loved everything that had to do with crafting, even though I was sure for years that I was not a creative person. I thought that creativity was like being able to draw and like be a really good painter and think of all these really creative ideas, and I was so not that person until I learned how to knit. And I realized that knitting is creativity. I had no idea. So when I was 12, I just decided one day, I think, that I wanted to learn how to knit. And there was a little knitting store in my neighborhood. So I went there, and the women who owned the shop were so sweet, and they just took me under their wing and taught me how to knit. And I also watched a bunch of YouTube videos to learn, and of course the first things that I made were horrible, and I thought that I had no hope as a knitter. But that was when I was 12, and I'm now 25. So it has been a long time of knitting. I haven't been knitting consistently every day throughout those years, but really since high school, it's been a pretty consistent hobby that I've had. And in the more recent years, I've really taken it more seriously and looked up some more better quality yarns. I was knitting with synthetic fabrics a lot, and it was getting kind of annoying, and I wanted to knit with real fabrics. So I found this website called Wool Warehouse, which I love, and I started ordering from there. That's where I found drops, and they have tons of other kinds of yarns that are also natural fibers and synthetics if that's what you want. So I have been ordering from there ever since, and I really enjoy it. I would say about my knitting style, I don't know, I love so many things that a lot of people make. I think it's so cool and so interesting. I like also like the funky things and the thinking like outside the box and taking things kind of to the next level. I'm just not so much that kind of person. I really like timeless pieces, elegant pieces, staples. I really am trying to build kind of like a capsule wardrobe style. I'm not trying to put too much pressure on myself to have it be really minimalistic, but just, you know, have clothes that I actually want to wear with good fabrics that I really will enjoy for a long time. And I'm willing to spend more on having clothes that will last me for a long time. So when it comes to knitting, I really like that kind of like elegant, timeless look. I really like the feminine look. I think I've kind of figured out more of my colors and what looks good on me and what I like to wear also. This pink is pretty bold for me. I usually don't wear pink. Growing up as a little blonde girl, I would get teased a lot, and everyone would say, oh, your favorite color must be pink, you must love pink. And so I just grew up to not like pink because everyone assumed that I loved pink. I don't know why, but that's just kind of how it happened. So it took me a while to get over that, and I do like pink. It's not like my favorite color or anything necessarily, but I do think it's a nice color and I enjoy wearing it. I feel a little bit like a fairy when I wear this. I also feel a little bit like a big marshmallow heap, but I think they work well together, so that's good. So I've been seeing a lot of really interesting knitting trends and knitting ideas and just a lot of patterns that I find really interesting. So let me know in the comments down below if you want a video of kind of about like knitting trends and what I've been seeing in 2026. I think that could be really interesting to kind of go over together and see what we find interesting and what we like for the new year, especially because there's so many knitting designers out there, which is so amazing to see that you can make so many different kinds of things through knitting and not just necessarily a basic raglan sweater, which is great, but that you can really think outside the box and do special things. So let me know if you think that would be fun for a video, because we could definitely do that. So in other hobbies wise, other than knitting, I'm a huge reader. I love reading. If you've watched my top 10 books of 2025, you know how much I love books, and I've really been enjoying them. I think a few years ago I was in this weird kind of reading slump, and I read a few books that just shot me out of it, and ever since, it's been like 3 or 4 years since then, and ever since I've been obsessed with books, and I read so many books a year, and it's so enjoyable to me that I even started a book club this year, which has been really fun, and we've been reading a bunch of different books. So this month's book is The Mystery of the Blue Train by Agatha Christie, which apparently is a classic. I had no idea when we picked out the book. I'm not a huge mystery thriller kind of reader just because I get scared really often. So I like to read either like historical fiction, or I've recently been kind of gotten into like fantasy and romantasy, which has been really fun, but I've never been much of a mystery reader. I think probably the scariest book I've read is Verity by Colleen Hoover, which was so good, but definitely not a book that I wanted to read at night because I got too scared. So I wasn't really big on like the idea of doing a mystery, but this book sounded really good, and I had no idea that Agatha Christie was such an amazing writer. I did not know how old these books were. I love to look when I buy a book to see when it was first published and when this edition was published. So to see the difference that the first edition was printed in 1928 and that this book was printed in 2024 was pretty crazy and really impressive. That someone's work can be so relevant still today, I think that's so incredible. So her book was definitely outside of my comfort zone, but I actually really enjoyed it. It wasn't scary at all. It was just really interesting to see her writing, and I really enjoy kind of old-timey English. I think it's really fun. I don't like it when it's at like a Shakespeare level, because then it's just kind of hard to understand and you have to read really slowly. But this was kind of somewhere in between, which I thought was really interesting and I really liked it. So that's what we're reading now for book club. But in general, I also just started the Thorn of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas, and I loved her ACOTAR series. So I have high hopes for this. Everyone says that it's really good. It is an 8-book series, which is pretty crazy. I hope I'll make it all the way through. I'm not gonna lie, I hate leaving books and series in the middle. I also used to not be a series kind of girly at all. I only read historical fiction books and things like that, or just general fiction. So the book would be one book, you know, it wouldn't be a series, maybe 2, but not really. It would usually only be 1. So I'm still new to this world of series, and 8 books is a little intimidating, but everyone says that they're really good and that you just kind of have to give it time. And I really enjoy her world building and the way that she writes. It's just so great. I mean, you can read 100 pages without even paying attention just because her writing is so good. So I'm reading The Thorn of Glass now. I also ordered 5 books on Amazon, so those should be arriving soon. I'm really excited about those though. They're all by authors that I've already read other books that I loved by them, so I'm really excited. I think they'll all be really good books. But I have a lot of books to read and not a lot of time. However, I am finishing my exams in about 2 weeks, and then I have a 2-week semester break, so hopefully I'll be knitting and reading a lot because I would enjoy a break. I have 8 exams this exam period, so we are already past the halfway point, but it still feels like there's a lot to go. So I'm really excited for the 2-week break that I'm gonna have. And hopefully I'll be able to read a lot of the books that I bought, because I bought so many, and we start our clinical training in a few months, so I don't know how much time I'm gonna have to read leisurely material that isn't studies about children or rehab, which is great, but I would also like to read the books that I bought. So hopefully I'll have time for that. So other than that, I live with my boyfriend in our very cute apartment that I love very much. We have books and plants all over our apartment, which to me, I think is the perfect decorating piece. So my boyfriend's name is Shai. He's 27 and he works in the finance world. I would love to hear your opinions, because I feel like a lot of times somehow like the knitters find the finance guys, which I think is so funny. So we've been together for about 3 years and our story is actually pretty funny. So we met on a dating app, which is funny that they can actually work. There were a lot of bad dates that I had from the dating app, but I found one good one, which is great. That's all you need. We live by the ocean, which is so great. So he planned a date for us to go paddleboarding. Now, I've never gone paddleboarding before, and I'm not a huge fan of the ocean. I do love it. I just am a little scared of the big waves. So I don't love to go in kind of all the way. But he was totally serious. He really did plan a paddleboarding date. So we went paddleboarding and it was super fun. And we watched the sunset and everything. And then we went out and we had pizza and it was really great. And when we finished the pizza, we were like, we don't want to go home yet. We're having so much fun. So we went to this park by his old apartment. And we were just, you know, chilling, chatting. I had a bag with me and the bag was like by my feet, you know, like right next to me. It wasn't actually far. And while we were chatting, it was already evening. And while we were chatting and our bags were right by our feet, someone came and stole our phones, both of our phones, and we had no idea. We didn't hear them at all. I honestly don't know how we didn't hear them. I would consider myself a person with environmental awareness to what's happening around me. I guess I was so into the conversation, or I don't know what. We both didn't hear anything. And all of a sudden we heard some weird like rustling by our feet, and we looked down to where our bags were, and there's just this man with his hands inside my wallet. And I was so shocked, and he was so close to us. You know, it's really startling. It was really scary. So he tackled him, and he started to like search for the phones, and I look at my bag and I'm like, oh my God, my phone isn't here and neither is Shai's. So it all ended up working out. I mean, we're together 3 years later, and it is a really funny story to tell. So it feels like I've been talking for a really long time. I really love getting to know the people that I watch on YouTube, so I would love for you guys to get to know me and for me to get to know you guys. So let me know in the comments what other crafts you do, what you're working on right now, what your projects are. If you have any book recommendations, be sure to send them my way because I always need more books, even though I have the whole Thorn of Glass series to read and about 5 other books I ordered on Amazon, but I could always use more book recommendations. So be sure to like and subscribe if you like this video. Comment all the books and all the projects down below because we always need more ideas. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.